You're on.
Hi, I'm Josephine, an alcoholic.
Hey, Josephine.
So when Danny asked me to do this, I looked at my schedule and thought, how can I get out of it? But unfortunately, I was free on the second. So I had lots of fear about this, and I compare it to going to the dentist and having a tooth pulled with no Novocaine. But on the way down here, I realized that the word privilege came into my head. It's a privilege. So it is a privilege, and if my story has anything in it that helps anybody else, that's great. So I was born in 1936, a second daughter, and I have an older sister. And my parents divorced 4 months later, so things kind of fell apart. My mom went back to the university, and she got a master's in statistics. And I was raised by some couple that we don't even know their name. So when I was 2, my mom remarried somebody that she met at the university, and he was an English professor, and we moved up to Pennsylvania through outside of Philly. I was really lucky, and then I got a great stepfather. He was very kind, and I just adored him. And I loved my older sister. Unfortunately, I really was not close to my mother at all. In fact, I was afraid of her. We were Quakers, which I don't know if you all know, but it's silent meeting where you go and sit silently. And I loved that. I don't know, that I kind of credit that with the beginning for me. Actually begged them to take me there. So, and then I was really lucky in that my mom later in life said that she felt a lot of compunction about how she'd mothered us, but she made sure we went to really good schools. So she sent us to the school in Rose Valley, which was started by parents on donated land. And it was kind of like a farm school. We had animals, and it was really awesome, and I loved to go there. So one of my memories of that was that I was painting a painting of some apple trees because it was set in an orchard, and it was time to go to the next class. And you know, if you were normally you would have had to go to the next class, but I said, but I'm not finished. And they let me stay and finish the painting. And so I think that's probably one of the reasons I'm still an artist today. I'm a potter. So I loved my older sister, and Louise, and unfortunately she died when she was 79. So, and then in the summers we used to go back to see my dad, who lived in North Carolina, and his wife, my stepmom, and they had 2 children, Helen and Jimmy, in the meantime. And we used to go by train. They used to pin who we were and our ages and our home addresses. I don't think, we had phones, but certainly no email or anything. And Mom would take us to the Pennsylvania train station, put us on the train, and we'd just go overnight. Get off in Greensboro, South Carolina, and my dad would pick us up. So those were wonderful summers. And I loved my stepmother, as I said. Um, and I went to college. And my main memory involves whiskey. So, of course, being Quaker, there really wasn't any alcohol in the house. I mean, I don't remember anybody drinking, although maybe they had a little sherry or something, but maybe one little glass of sherry. I don't even think that at that time they didn't have that. Anyway, so I was sitting on my boyfriend's lap and drinking whiskey out of a bottle for the first time ever, and I glug, 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 and had no idea. And when I got to the party, I just headed right to the bathroom and started throwing up, and I threw up for 3 days. So I just, well, now I know why I can't tolerate alcohol. Because I found out that my dad, at the age of 21, I found out that my dad really wasn't my dad. He was some other guy who I never met. And I never met him. And he died of cirrhosis of the liver at the age of 50. So this was really painful for me because I realized that my sister, that I really was very bonded to, wasn't really she was only my half sister. And that she had found out about it from a therapist 3 years earlier, and she knew that I wasn't really her sister. So it was really not good for me. And I got home to New York and cornered my mother in my grandmother's living room, and I said, so, tell me the truth now. Which man was it? And she said, I don't know. So, but later I had the DNA testing, and I found out it was true. So he had 2 other daughters by his second wife, and one of them died homeless in a park in Washington, D.C. And her name was Susan, and they said I looked just like her, or she looked just like me. So how we're doing time-wise, because I'm only on the first page. Okay. Art school for pottery. I had jobs at the Henry Street Settlement House. I lived in Manhattan with my parents, and I worked in the garment district as a weaver, a hand weaver, for a company that made woven cloths, and they would have it. I would hand weave it, and then they would take the sample, cut it up in little pieces, and put it in their portfolios and go around and try to sell it. So this was a little niche job that an artistic person could actually have. And finally, I got married at 27, and my husband worked at Bell Labs. So we moved to New Jersey, and I had 3 little girls. Bing, bing, bing. And I was kind of slow. I mean, people were having like 5 or 6 kids in those days. We're talking early 60s here. So I was determined that I was going to give my kids a different kind of mothering. And we've all read about that, how it doesn't come true. I had home births, I breastfed, I praised them, I told them they were beautiful, I told them they were skillful, and the fact that I only later realized that they were watching me with my low self-esteem, and so they had low self-esteem too, even though I said all those things verbally. So I also used to have a lot of rage and anger, and I scared my kids with it. So my husband had heart trouble, and he came down with it in 1966, and he died in 1972. Um, I didn't do, I did not, well, I was kind of a wild child. I left him and my kids with my mother and went off to Woodstock with a 19-year-old boy. As you can imagine. Basically, yeah.
What? I think I've seen this movie.
Yeah, we understand.
You know. Okay. I won't say anything more. It's enough. I deceived him. So he died at 45. He was very young. And I was 35 years old, and the girls were 8, 6, and 4. And everybody said, "Oh, are you going to stay?" We lived in this huge Victorian house in Summit, New Jersey that we saved from the Wreckers Ball, and we renovated it. It was beautiful, beautiful. Everybody said, "Aren't you going to move?" And I said, "Listen, there's already been too much chaos. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to sit here." And I we finally moved to California in 1972. So, I mean, in 75. He died in 72. And I've written here, look for love in all the wrong places. It's a light way of putting it. So, the kind of result of that was that I made my eldest daughter my confidant, and I'm still trying to make amends to her because she was only 10, and I'm trying to make amends to her now, but it's difficult because she's very bitter, about it. So, 2 of my daughters are in AA, and in the summers on Whidbey, they would bring me to the Langley Hall. Since I would only have 1 drink in the evening, I reasoned that I was not an alcoholic. They said that I was a dry drunk. Now, I've read since then, since I put this in here, that dry drunk is not an approved term, but it is defined, and this does fit, defined in AA as a person who has stopped drinking alcohol but still experiences the issues or behaviors that have contributed to their alcohol use disorder, which is definitely true. Not me. So about 3 years ago, we were looking at old slides of their childhood. It was a wake-up call for me. I remembered it as charming, beautiful. They were adorable. I loved them. And they came to me and said, "Well, Mom, what did you think about it?" And I said all that. And then he said, "No, it wasn't like that at all. It was scary. You had rages. You didn't even see us for several years. You just couldn't even listen to them anymore." So that was kind of a shock to me. And I thought, oh, maybe I wasn't a good mother like I thought I was. Oops. So I began to go to AA meetings for myself 2.5 years ago. And I want to read from page 66 and 8, a big book. It is plain that this really means a lot to me, this passage. It is plain But a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is in the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. If we were to live, we had to be free. We had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison. So, I've been able, with the help of my sponsor and attending meetings, to lead a more serene life. I'm less afraid of people, and I find that my anger at other people and my resentments are going away. Not completely. I am learning to make living amends, to keep my mouth shut, to breathe, relax, and be more aware when I've become fearful. I thank my daughters for my sobriety, and I can feel the presence of my higher power growing in me every day. I am very grateful for the AA program. And I like to say, it works if I work it, and I am worth it.